Now, the dwindling supply of food to the internally displaced camps in the northeast is having an impact on the vulnerable people in the camps. Many of them have reportedly died of hunger. Moyo Thomas visited the IDP camp in Damasak, Borno State, to see firsthand their experiences with food insecurity.
Our presence in the camp may have brought some form of hope for them as they quickly organize themselves, thinking we have brought the most essential commodity, food. The look on their faces speaks to the disappointment they felt when they realized we were not there to share food. Some followed us around, especially this woman saying, "We are hungry." That was how best she could express her situation as she showed us a food ration ticket in the camp. While the children were happy at the sight of the camera and TV crews, the adults were more concerned about the lack of food supply, which they had not received for several months now. Some have turned to petty trading, including the sale of illegal medication, just to make ends meet. The United Nations, through one of its agencies, the World Food Programme, started providing food support to the internally displaced affected by the insurgency in the northeast in 2015. Meeting up with the food provision has been greatly affected by the Ukraine-Russia war, as the humanitarian situation there also competes for funding from international donors, thereby depleting the food assistance since 2022. As of 2021, 4.3 million people were targeted for food assistance in Borno, Adamawa and Yobe states. About 43.6% of the required $354 million was received that year. The competing need to also provide aid for victims of war in Gaza reduced the target for 2024 to 2.8 million people, despite the increasing number of displaced persons in the camps. As of July, the middle of the year, only about 11% of the budgeted $350 million had been received.
The last time we had a scope restoration is
Musa Idris is one of the recent returnees who fled to Niger at the peak of the insurgency. He says he returned about a year and a half ago and has only been given one ration of food since his return.
Since I arrived here, no food has been shared. Everybody is going through the same thing. We are not getting anything from anywhere. There's no medicine. Every time they bring out dead bodies because people are falling sick and dying. Some women go out to fetch firewood to sell, just to get something to eat. By the time I got here, they were suffering. Till now, we are still suffering. May God help us so that we can find a way out.
The government secondary school premises turned into the IDP camp were originally made to accommodate less than 30,000 people. It currently gives refuge to more than 65,000 displaced persons. According to the camp manager, there are approximately 15 households returning to the camp daily from the neighboring Niger and Chad, where they have fled to in search of safety. This has further crowded the camp and increased competition for scarce resources. The impact of this lack of food has made malnutrition the most prevalent illness among children in the camp. About a year ago, TVC News visited Bama community where children were treated for acute malnutrition and extreme dehydration. The story was not so palatable. This time around, we're in Damasak to check children also affected by acute malnutrition and extreme dehydration. Come with me as we check their situation and how they are faring.
So this is our sterilization process.
The emptiness of the beds may look like good news, unlike what we experienced in Bama camp. But Dr. Kamai, who received us, says the rainy season may have come with some challenges in this regard.
A month ago, we have to look for other wards to admit cases of severe acute malnutrition because the ward is overwhelmed, it's full, the beds are full to their capacity. So we have to go and admit them in other wards. But because of the rainy season, you can see most of them, like I said earlier, most of them have went to the farm to plant their crops, because the complaint they usually give is, yes, we are taking care of these children, but they have other children at home that have to be fed. They have to get food for those children. So they cannot prioritize this one over the other ones.
Unfortunately, according to the doctor, this increases cases of fatalities.
Sometimes when they come back with other children, when we ask how, it increases the rate of mortality, actually. Because, like I said, it's not as if these children are not sick. It's not as if they are not malnourished. But then they have to be on the farm. Even if we tried to counsel them why they need to they need to stay at the facility, they will agree with us. But early in the morning, you will see that they pack their things and leave, they will abscond. Okay,
Hawa, a 16-year-old mother of a newborn, brought in her child at the brink of death. The 3-week-old baby, tucked under a piece of clothing, was brought into the facility with a lot of challenges.
She came severely wasted with weight loss and fever. She was delivered at home and had maybe poor delivery, and then came with presumed sepsis. And so we are managing her here for that, and you can see, as you can see now, she's getting better. She has much recovered since admission.
The other children undergoing treatment at the facility, according to the doctor, were also responding well to the special meal they were placed on. 9-month-old baby Maimuna has also fully recovered from severe acute malnutrition. She is the 9th child of her 30-year-old mother. All her other 8 siblings are dead. To prevent another death, her mother had to trek 30 kilometers from where she stays outside the IDP camp to access the stabilization center located within the general hospital.
This is her 15th day on admission with us here. She was first admitted at the stabilization phase. Now you can see her play, she's relatively stable. So after stabilization, now she's on RUTF. From here, we will now move her to OTP, where she will continue management.
Children well stabilized, like Maimuna, are referred to the outpatient therapeutic program within the IDP camp. The OTP also attends to children with symptoms of malnutrition. The center says it currently has about 269 children in its care. We also met baby Saleh Sadiq at the OTP center. His mother also just returned to the camp from Niger and therefore is unregistered. Her lack of access to food has an effect on her son. This appetite test carried out on him, according to the attendant, shows he suffers from malnutrition with complications and needs to be taken to the stabilization center immediately. Men and women of the GSS IDP camp in Damasak say their only hope of survival is fetching firewood and selling within the Damasak community to earn money to feed, raising another concern of climate change. Without support to feed, the vulnerability of these displaced persons may have stretched to the point of hanging on a thin thread, requiring urgent help from both the federal government and its international partners.
Beyond the health challenges and the poor living conditions of the people in this IDP camp, food, shelter, and access to education have also been a major challenge. Even though international community and government are making effort, it is obvious there is need to pump in more and put in more effort, help them, give them the hope they need to breathe a fresh air. Moyo Thomas, TVC News